You've probably met one like her. Beautiful, fun, confident, until the second or third drink. After that, she changes. Becomes emotionally unstable, talks too much, or disappears without a word. What seems like charm is actually a disguised cry for help, and the most dangerous part? Many men mistake this behavior for a strong personality. But what they're really walking into is a silent, emotional, and destructive trap. We live in a time where excessive drinking is sold as freedom. But the dark truth is that behind many women who drink too much are unresolved wounds, deep insecurities, and chronic emotional immaturity. And the man who doesn't understand this pays the price. A steep one. Because when you get involved with someone who's hiding from herself in alcohol, you become the target of all her inner ghosts. In this video, I'm going to reveal what no one talks about: the hidden signs, the real risks, the emotional damage, and the silent impact this has on you as a man. I'll show you with stoic clarity how far it's worth going, and when the most loving act is to walk away. But stay until the end, because only when you understand the final point will you be able to make a real decision. Otherwise, you'll keep getting stuck in the cycle, thinking you're helping, when in truth, you're the one being lost. Now that some light has started to shine, let's go straight to the first red flag hiding behind the glass. Behind the glass, what is she really hiding? No one drowns in alcohol overnight. When a woman makes drinking part of her routine, it's not about fun, it's about numbing. Behind every shot, there's a silent scream, an unhealed wound, an escape from reality. And the worst part? Most men see this as she just wants to let loose, when in fact they're facing hidden vulnerability, disguised by fake smiles and exaggerated behavior. It's less about freedom and more about emotional abandonment. Alcohol is a convenient mask for emotional immaturity. Instead of dealing with her feelings, she hides in the neon haze of bars. And if you step into this thinking you'll save her, get ready. A clear-headed man knows that masculine awareness must come before compassion. It's not about judgment, it's about self-mastery. Recognizing the signs and responding with rational decision, not sympathy or emotional hunger. Need an example? That woman who says, "I drink to relax," but needs wine every night? That's not leisure, it's disguised dependence. Over time, that constant need turns into an emotional addiction, affecting her mood, libido, habits, and even the way she treats you. The relationship starts revolving around alcohol. What once seemed charming becomes self-destructive behavior. And in that dynamic, the man who fails to set masculine boundaries becomes just another enabler in the cycle. If you're seeing a woman who insists on drinking every time you go out, that's a red flag. An emotionally mature woman doesn't need constant stimulation to feel alive. She thrives in silence, shines in sobriety, builds connection without escape. The other type, the one always drunk, lacks the inner foundation for a healthy relationship. She needs chaos to feel in control. What you're left with is chaotic energy, and when this pattern repeats, the man begins to wither too. Living in that environment drains you, frustrates you, turns you into a reactive, insecure version of yourself, full of doubts and resentment. And it all started with something that seemed harmless, just one more glass of wine. But now that you see what's behind the habit, the real question is, are you ready to face the cost? Relationship or battlefield? The man who loves a woman who drinks too much at first, it all seems exciting. She's fun, spontaneous, full of wild stories. But slowly, what felt like lightness becomes heavy. A man in an unbalanced relationship with a woman who drinks too much starts to notice he's more on alert than at peace. The good days are good, but the bad ones? Full of fights, disappearances, and impulsive behavior. Her freedom turns into a chronic issue. The truth is, alcohol alters emotional filters. Simple things turn into arguments, feelings get distorted, and the man starts walking on eggshells. That constant fear of saying the wrong thing, or seeing her transform after a few drinks, that's a clear sign of silent betrayal of your own values. Once you adapt to that, you slowly lose your masculine presence. You're not a partner anymore, you're a crisis manager. And it gets worse. Emotionally unstable women affected by alcohol often swing between extreme attachment and total neglect. One day she says she loves you. The next she disappears. With the girls. And when you bring it up, you're called controlling. The issue isn't jealousy, it's history. Because where there's disguised neediness, there's often room for impulsive choices, flirting, lies, even cheating. And alcohol is always the perfect excuse. Living with that comes at a high cost to a man's mental health. Bit by bit, you lose clarity. You feel trapped in emotional storms. You forget who you are. That's not love, that's masked emotional dependency. The way out? Reinforce your masculine boundaries, practice self-mastery, and view the relationship through the eyes of a high-value man who refuses to be dragged down by something with no foundation. Is it hard? Extremely. But ignoring it will cost you even more. And in the middle of all this chaos comes the question most men avoid. How much should a man really put up with? The answer might be uncomfortable, but necessary. Because sometimes, what looks like strength is just fear of being alone. The female psychology behind the excess. What she doesn't heal, she repeats behind the repetitive drinking behavior, is a mind trying to survive itself. Many of these women don't recognize, or refuse to recognize, what they're running from. This isn't just a social habit. It's an emotional escape pattern. At the root of it, unresolved trauma, emotional immaturity, deep insecurities, and a lack of self-awareness. The glass becomes a shield against the pain of existing. But no anesthesia is free. Women who don't deal with their emotions tend to project onto others what they deny in themselves. And the man who walks into that, unaware, becomes the easiest target. He gets blamed for everything: self-esteem crises, irrational jealousy, emotional chaos. And when he tries to reason, he's met with explosive reactions. That's when firm communication becomes vital. It's what separates the men who sink from the ones who awaken. Here's the truth: not every woman who drinks excessively is evil. Many are simply lost. But that's exactly where a conscious man's role comes in, understanding that compassion isn't submission. If she can't rebuild herself, it's not your job to carry her ruins on your back. That healing must come from her. Your role is to stay sharp, grounded in masculine awareness, and not fall into the hole with her. A practical example: if your partner reaches for alcohol every time she's frustrated, instead of communicating, ask yourself, how often is this happening per week? What is she avoiding through this? That's where the pattern lies. And patterns left unchallenged become emotional prisons. A man must treat that as a signal and respond with rational decision, not emotional reaction. If he doesn't, he'll be fueling a cycle of self-destructive behavior without even knowing it. And when it gets to this stage, it's no longer a relationship between two people. It's between an unresolved pain and a man trying to rescue what was already broken. The cycle is brutal. She spirals, he tries to fix, she resists, he erases himself. And as time passes, both drift away from who they could have truly become. But what if healing is possible? What if there is a way out? For her. And more importantly, is it worth it? How far should a man go? When to say, enough? Every man must understand one thing: patience is not an obligation, it's a choice. And when the woman you're with has habits that drain you emotionally, like excessive drinking, it's vital to know your limit. The line between compassion and enabling is razor thin. If you don't define your masculine boundaries, someone else will. Usually, people who live in chaos don't respect boundaries. And that's how you lose her respect and your own, without realizing it. Many men mistake persistence for strength. They believe she'd change, she just needs love. Or it's just a phase. But that's emotional illusion. Applied Stoicism teaches us this: reality must guide our choices, not our fantasies. If she doesn't acknowledge the problem, doesn't seek help, won't open up, that's her choice. And yours is to walk away. That's not weakness. That's self-mastery. Leaving might be painful. But staying in a relationship filled with toxic femininity, emotional manipulation, and alcohol-fueled aggression is far more corrosive. A man who stays in this too long becomes bitter, paranoid, reactive. And he loses what's most valuable: his inner peace. Ask yourself, what core values am I betraying by staying? That reflection is essential for any man who chooses to live with masculine awareness that sometimes the highest form of love is walking away. Letting her face her shadow without leaning on your emotional support. That's not abandonment. That's protecting your energy, your purpose, your emotional balance. Because what keeps women like this going isn't just the alcohol, it's the man who doesn't set firm communication and lives like he's emotionally imprisoned. And believe this, nothing commands more respect than a man who knows how to say no. Because within that no lives power, direction, and self-respect. So how far should a man go? As far as love doesn't cost in his mental health, his self-esteem, and his identity. After that, it's a fall. And once that line is crossed, another question arises. Can she actually change? Is healing even possible? Is healing possible? Or are you just wasting time? This is one of the hardest and most necessary questions. Can she change? The answer is yes. But with conditions. Real transformation only happens from within. No argument, no love, no persistence can heal a woman who doesn't want to be healed. If she still sees alcohol as a solution, not a problem, then she's not ready. You may be a good man, but you're not a therapist, nor her savior. What you need is a rational decision. There are treatments. There is professional help. There are paths. But she has to choose to walk them. What doesn't work is pretending it's not happening, ignoring clear signs of self-destructive behavior, while waiting for a miracle. A mature man knows this. He can be supportive, but never the crutch. True emotional attraction is born from mutual respect, not from trying to rescue someone from their own abyss. What feels romantic at first may actually be codependency. Sure, you'll hear stories of women who overcame alcoholism, but they all share one truth. It came from internal decision. They went to therapy, joined support groups, faced their patterns. Not one of them changed because a man forced them to. If the woman you're with shows signs of hidden vulnerability, but also shows a genuine desire to change, then it may be worth having a conversation, grounded in firm communication and healthy boundaries. But if she avoids, lies, downplays, or explodes when you bring it up, that's the signal. Healing is possible, but not every woman is willing. That's where your role begins, not as a spectator, but as a man who owns his masculine presence. Not to judge her, but to protect your own peace. Because a man who spends too much time with someone who doesn't want to heal gets sick. So yes, healing exists. But the real question is, are you witnessing genuine change or just feeding false hope? The difference between the two will determine whether this relationship becomes a new beginning or just another chapter of pain. Which leads us to something even more personal. The hidden cost this kind of connection has on your identity as a man. What this kind of relationship does to you, you might not see it at first, but being with a woman who drinks too much directly impacts your identity. Slowly, you start giving up parts of yourself just to keep something that's hurting you. Your silence grows. Your patience becomes exhaustion. And what used to be joy turns into frustration. Desire becomes obligation. Lightness turns to pressure. When a man ignores these signs, he starts drifting from his essence, losing the self-mastery that once made him strong. This kind of woman demands constant attention. And not the caring kind, surveillance. You start living in reaction to her mood, what she drank, where she went. That drains your energy, your focus, your mission. What should have been a partnership becomes monitoring. And in the middle of it all, you stop doing your routines, your hobbies, your purpose-driven habits. That's how a man dies while still alive, smiling on the outside, suffocating inside. That's not a healthy relationship. Men stuck in this pattern often develop anxiety, irritability, insomnia, even depression. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's the weight of everything you swallow in silence. Every excuse, every unexplained absence, every emotional storm you suppress. You betray a part of yourself. And that silent betrayal is brutal because it creeps in slowly, almost invisibly. Recovering from that takes deliberate action. Start reading again. Books that sharpen your clarity, like The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Get back to the gym, meditate, reconnect with grounded Men. That's how you rebuild masculine awareness, by remembering who you were before this dynamic took over. Only then will you truly see the impact this kind of relationship had on you. And here comes one of the biggest questions. Why did you tolerate this for so long? What part of you believed you deserved less? Because behind every obsession, there's often an inner emptiness. And understanding that emptiness might be what finally sets you free. But before we close, let's talk about something even trickier. Why so many men still feel drawn to women like this. Why are men still attracted to women like this? It's strange, but many women who drink excessively are still seen as seductive, exciting, full of life. And that's exactly the danger. Chaos has its own kind of charm, and the man who hasn't developed self-mastery yet might confuse intensity with connection. She's bold, unpredictable, spontaneous, but also unstable, impulsive, and often emotionally hollow. What looks like freedom is actually chaotic energy. There's an unconscious archetype in many men, the desire to fix the broken woman, as if doing so makes him more worthy, more masculine. But this trap is subtle and deadly. You end up chasing validation through suffering. Instead of bonding with emotionally grounded women, you chase those who constantly drain you. The result? An endless cycle of frustration and a growing disconnection from true emotional attraction. Women like this know how to seduce, but they don't always know how to love. They're great at instant connection, but rarely sustain depth. And if you're not careful, you'll think you're living a powerful romance, when in truth, you're drowning in an emotional pattern. The more you try to stabilize the relationship, the more fragile you feel. Your masculine presence becomes her emotional crutch. Getting out of that trap takes courage. Choosing the woman who builds with you, not the one who consumes you. And you can only do that when you're whole, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Applied Stoicism teaches you to see beyond the beauty, the chemistry, or the thrill. It trains your vision to look behind the curtain and not be fooled by disguised neediness, control impulses, or the urge to play the savior. Because in the end, what attracts you can also destroy you if you lack the maturity to tell the difference. Now that you've seen all this with clarity, the choice is yours. Will you keep falling for surface-level excitement? Or will you step up as a high-value man who chooses with wisdom? Now that you've seen all of this clearly, the decision is yours. And no, it's not easy, but it's not impossible either. The real question is, will you keep justifying behaviors that are breaking you? Or will you finally take control of your emotional life? Because a high-value man doesn't tolerate relationships that drain him. He chooses wisely and walks away firmly. Being with a woman who abuses alcohol is dangerous because the damage is subtle. It sneaks in. Emotional immaturity, drama, jealousy, disappearances, manipulation. All of it slowly destroys your peace, your clarity, and your vision. But if you've made it this far, you've taken the first step, awareness. And awareness is power. Now reflect. Are you with someone who builds you up or tears you down? Do you feel stronger with her or more lost? These questions are worth more than any advice. And if this resonated with you, drop a comment below saying, "I choose what strengthens me." Let it be your line in the sand, your personal declaration that you won't settle for less than you deserve. Thank you deeply for watching all the way through. That tells me you're on a real path of transformation, and few men have that level of courage. If this video helped you, hit that like button, share it with a brother who needs to hear this, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because from now on, you won't walk in the dark anymore.